Hello everyone. Today we are going to be discussing the verb gustar. Now, gustar is a very funny verb because it does not behave in the traditional way. What do I mean by this? Well, gustar does not agree with the person who is doing the action. It actually agrees with the thing that is receiving the action, which would be the object. So in this sense, it is different. But the verb gustar is used to express dislikes and likes. We don't usually use it with people. We would more use caer bien or caer mal, right? But the verb gustar means to be pleasing to, right? We often think it means to like, but in the translation, it would translate as to like, but literally it means to be pleasing to. That is the reason that we use the indirect object pronoun when it comes to referencing the person who's doing the liking. So let's see. So I have some prepositional phrases here, right? You would realize it starts with the preposition a, then we have the subject, okay? A mí me gusta. And we're going to get to the Gusta and the Gustan part. We're going to get there, but just hold straight, right? Okay. A mí me gusta means I like, or yeah, translates as I like. A ti te gusta, you like. A él, ella, usted le gusta, he, she, or you like. A nosotros or a nosotras nos gusta, we like. And of course, this variety is used in Spain. A vosotros or a vosotras os gusta. A ellos, ellas, ustedes les gusta. Now, these prepositional phrases, like I said, the a plus the subject, these are optional. Why are they optional? Because they are used for emphasis, right? So, with the exception of the third person, singular and plural, all the other persons will be, the prepositional phrase will be used for emphasis. Because in the third person, there can be a bit of ambiguity as to who's the person doing the liking, right? So, as you see here, a él, ella, usted, he, she, or you. All right? But what is mandatory would be the indirect object pronoun. So you must use the indirect object pronoun. That must be mentioned, right? Because don't forget, gustar means to be pleasing to. So the person who is doing the liking will be referenced using the indirect object pronoun, because whatever it is that is being liked is pleasing to that person, right? But in the third person, singular or plural, the preposition a plus the subject is going to be used for clarification purposes, because, like I said, the third person can refer to a variety of persons. So to make it clear who is being referenced, we can use the preposition a, whoever, le gusta, right? All right. So remember that the a plus the subject is optional, right? What is mandatory is the indirect object pronoun, and of course the correct form of gustar, which we are going to get into now. So gustar is used in the third person, singular or plural, depending on what follows, right? Depending on what is being liked or what is pleasing. Gusta would be used with singular nouns, if something is singular that's being liked, you would use gusta. If it's plural, it would be gustan, right? So, yeah, okay. So let's look at a few examples. Me gusta este coche. I like this car. This would literally translate as this car is pleasing to me. So we use the indirect object pronoun me, because don't forget we use the indirect object pronoun to reference the person doing the liking, which should be I in this case, right? And gusta will be in the singular because este coche is singular, right? Now, what I should mention is that we could change the order of this. I could also say este coche me gusta, and that's perfectly fine. Este coche me gusta, and that would be fine, okay? Or I could say me gusta este coche, right? Or I could say a mí me gusta este coche. But the a mí here would only serve as emphasis. That is pleasing to me, because the indirect object pronoun me would already mean that the first person singular is being referenced. So you see that it is gusta because este coche is singular. All right? Example number 2. Mariana and Mark like to go to the beach. Otherwise known as going to the beach is pleasing to Mariana and Mark. So the Spanish version of this would be a Mariana y a Mark les gusta ir a la playa. Now, this is where it gets tricky, because anytime an activity is being liked and it is expressed using an infinitive, we will always use the singular form of gustar. It doesn't matter how many activities are mentioned. For example, I could say me gusta cocinar y bailar. Now those are two activities, so you might think, well, shouldn't you use gustan? No. If the activities being mentioned are expressed as verb infinitives, we use the singular form of gustar, which is gusta. So, me gusta cocinar y bailar. I like to cook and dance, or cooking and dancing are pleasing to me. Okay? So, yeah. Another thing is that we would use the singular form of gustar if we have more than one item that is uncountable. Let me give you an example. Nos gusta el arte y la música. We like art and music. Now, art and music are two uncountable nouns. So we can actually use the singular form even though they are two things. We can use the singular form, right? Because the Royal Spanish Academy says that once the two items are uncountable, the singular form will be used, right? So, nos gusta el arte y la música. It wouldn't be nos gustan el arte y la música, right? So those are very important things when it comes to gustar, okay? So we remember the prepositional phrases are optional for the most part, unless you're using the third person and want to specify who is actually the person doing the liking. You use gustar in the third person, and it agrees with the activity or the item being liked, and we use the indirect object pronoun to reference the person who is actually doing the liking, or who the to whom the activity is pleasing, or the item. Okay? Alright, so this is the first part here, and now we're going to proceed to how to formulate the negative as well as questions. Okay, so we move on to negation and questions. So now I'm going to show you how to formulate the negative, which is to say that you do not like something or something is not pleasing to you, as well as how to ask questions, right? So what you'll find is that this is pretty simple, right? So let's start with the negation. So to form the negative, no is simply placed before the indirect object pronoun. Simple. All you do is you place no before the indirect object pronoun. And as you know, the indirect object pronoun refers to the person who is doing the liking, or to whom that activity or that item is pleasing. Okay? So let's look at an example. She does not like surprises, or surprises are not pleasing to her. Okay? Because this is the third person, we should specify the person, right? So she is the specific person. So we use the prepositional phrase, a ella no le gustan las sorpresas, right? Of course, gustar would have to be plural because sorpresas would be plural, right? So the no goes before the indirect object pronoun. That's how you form the negative, right? A ella no le gustan las sorpresas. Pretty simple, right? Okay. We do not like that building, or that building is not pleasing to us. In this case, we don't really need the prepositional phrase because the nos would mean us, right? So there is no need for clarification there. If we put the prepositional phrase, it would be for emphasis, right? No nos gusta ese edificio. We do not like that building. Okay? If we use the prepositional phrase, we would just say a nosotros, right? Or a nosotras, if we're talking about women. No nos gusta ese edificio. Simple. So we just put the no before the indirect object pronoun, right? Now, to formulate questions, it is even simpler, right? So to form a question, simply use question marks. And you know in Spanish, there are question marks at the end and the beginning. But the one at the beginning is turned upside down, right? So you literally just have to put that, right? Literally. So, don't you like to win? So, winning isn't pleasing to you? No te gusta ganar. So you would write it as though it were an affirmative sentence and simply add the question marks to make it a question. Literally, right? No te gusta ganar. Don't you like to win? You see? And do they like their new jobs, or are their new jobs pleasing to them? A ellos les gustan sus nuevos trabajos, right? Do they like their new jobs? So you actually write it as though it were an affirmative sentence, and then you just add the question marks to turn it into a question, literally, right? A ellos les gustan sus nuevos trabajos? So do they like their new jobs? And of course, because it's third person, we use the prepositional phrase for specificity purposes or clarification purposes, right? All right. So this pretty much brings us to the end of the verb gustar, right? So you know that we use the indirect object pronoun to reference the person doing the liking, and we use gustar in the singular or plural form depending on what is being liked, okay? In addition, we have prepositional phrases which we use at the start, a plus the subject, and those are optional for the most part, other than with the third person, apart from the third person, because there can be ambiguity as to who is doing the liking. So in that case, we would use it for clarification. Otherwise, we would use it for emphasis. Okay? So that is Gustar. Now we're going to proceed to a quiz. So we move on to the conclusion, which of course is the quiz. So now it's time to see how much you really understand. Alright? So let's look at the instructions. Place the correct indirect object pronoun and form of Gustar in the spaces below. So this means that you have two tasks. You have to first choose the correct indirect object pronoun, and you have to place the correct form of Gustar. So before we get into the quiz, just a quick recap. The indirect object pronoun is going to be used for the person doing the liking or the person to whom the activity or the item is pleasing, okay? Whereas the form of Gustar, the Gustar is going to depend on the item being liked, right? So let's go. 1. A ustedes bailar. So who's the subject? A ustedes. So what's the indirect object pronoun that corresponds to that? Les. And what is being liked? Bailar. And that is a verb in the infinitive, so that should be singular. And of course the you will be plural here. 2. No estas camisas. What is the subject? I. So what would be the indirect object pronoun? Me. What is being liked? Estas camisas. Plural. So that should be gustan. So I do not like these shirts. These shirts are not pleasing to me. Here, dancing is not pleasing to you. Dancing is pleasing to you, right? And here, these shirts are not pleasing to me, right? That would be the other meaning, right? 3. A mi familia y a mí la Navidad. So we have the subject, a mi familia y a mí would be nos, because that's us. Nos, singular. Navidad, Christmas, singular. So Gusta. All right. My family and I like Christmas. All right. 4. Apple cocinar. Who's the subject? Apple. So that would be le. What is being liked? A verb in the infinitive. So gusta. So does Paul like to cook? Or we could also say, is cooking pleasing to Paul? All right. So that brings us to the end. I hope you answered everything correctly. Muchas gracias por ver y espero que ustedes les gustó. Oh, no. Let me not say that. Look at here making a mistake. Espero que les haya gustado el video. Adiós.